So let me show you guys how to do some cybersecurity reconnaissance using Amass in Purple Kali Linux. So what's up guys, it's Josh back with another video, and like I said in the intro, I want to show you guys how to do some cybersecurity reconnaissance using an application called Amass within Purple Kali Linux. Now, I've done a lot of videos in the past dealing with just the Linux operating system, as well as covering some cybersecurity tools, but I never went this far in depth in learning some of these tools and putting together tutorials that'll show you guys how to actually get started with some of these tools that you will see in like Kali Linux. And Amass is one of those tools that's been around for a while. I've seen it in other versions of Kali Linux, but it's included in the Purple Kali Linux, which was released not that long ago. And I figured I'd do a video that will cover how to use this actual tool that's included in Kali Linux. So I'm not going to take up too much time. Let's go on and hop over to the GitHub page for Amass, and I can show you guys a little bit about the tool, and then we can go through and actually test it out in Purple Kali against some domains as well as organizations that are out there. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm in Kali Purple, and I wanted to show you guys the tool we'll be covering today. And if you go under Identify, Amass is the first tool. And like I said, I'm gonna go through a lot of these tools. I'm gonna try to cover as many as possible, just showing you guys how to actually use some of these tools. And I want to start off with Amass. But I already have the GitHub page pulled up for Amass, and this basically gives you a brief description of what it is. It's an in-depth attack surface mapping and asset discovery tool, and it was developed under a project called OWASP, and basically that stands for Open Web Application Security Project, and it's basically a non-profit foundation that works to improve security of software. And so this is one of the tools that they've developed, and it's included in Kali Linux as a way for people to do in-depth DNS enumeration. And first off, I need to explain what enumeration is. In cybersecurity, enumeration is an essential step in the reconnaissance phase of penetration testing or ethical hacking. And the goal of enumeration is to gather as much information as possible about the target system or network in order to identify potential vulnerabilities or attack vectors. For example, let's say you're performing enumeration on a web server. You might try to identify the server's operating system as well as install software and any known vulnerabilities associated with that software. And let's say you're running an enumeration on a network, where you might want to try and discover all the devices connected to that network, their IP addresses, as well as like open ports. Now that you understand what enumeration is, let me show you guys a little bit more of the application, just give you a overview of it. But as you can see, it's written mostly in Go and Lua, the programming language. So Go needs to be installed in order to use this application, but I believe they have a Docker container, so if you want to run it in Docker, you know, everything is self-contained, you can run it from there. But essentially, the OWASP Amass project performs network mapping of attack surfaces and external assets discovery using open source information gathering and active reconnaissance tool. And I just want to point something out to you. This tool doesn't do anything illegal. All this information is available. You're just looking at information that's out there. And so I really wanted to explain that so you guys don't think you're doing anything illegal. It uses different techniques to gather the information, like APIs. They got a list, search, DNS, routing, scraping, web archives, and whois. So that's basically kind of where it gets its information from, the techniques that it uses. Alright, so now that you guys understand the application, let's go down and show you guys a few examples of how to use it, and then we'll wrap it up. So let's minimize the website, and all we have to do is go under Identify and click on Amass, and essentially what it's going to do is open up the terminal, and you guys will see that in a second. And it'll basically give you some information about the application as soon as you boot it up. And let's scroll up, and actually let's zoom in a little bit so you guys can see, or let's make it a little bigger. and then zoom in so you guys can see the text. And boom, there you go. Amass-H, that's basically what it runs when you click the file. And you can always run that if you need to, and that'll give you the information that you need. And here is the basic usage. So up here at the top, you got 3 options, but you do have commands, which is where you're going to be using the command really, and they're all explained here. So Amass is the first command, and the subcommands or intel. The first one is discover targets for enumeration, so that's a discovery phase essentially. And the enumeration right here is to perform an enumeration and network mapping. And then Amass Viz, which is visualize enumeration results. So once you do the enumeration, then you can get a visualization of the results. And then Amass Track, so track differences between enumerations. So when you can compare between different times that you ran the enumeration. And then the Amass Database, so manipulate the Amass graph database. So let's walk you guys through a few examples. And first off, I want to start with the intel, which is basically the first step in gathering the information that you want to see. You basically want to do some intel so you can figure out what targets you want to run the enumeration on. And so up here at the top, it breaks down the usage, like I said a little earlier, but Amass, and then you just type intel. This is just giving you the other options that are down here or whatever, just saying, and then the options. And so let me show you guys, because it doesn't show you guys any options yet, or any sub options. Like this is the sub command, then you have options underneath that you can run against it. First one I want to show you guys is who is, how to actually, you know, find information to identify like subdomains associated with the domain name that we want to look into. And I want to use KeepItTechie.com, just show you guys some intel that it would give you results of. And so Amass intel, and then what I'm gonna run is -h, and this will give us the other options. And like I said, I want to look at the who is, but there are other options. So active, it all depends on what you're using or what you're looking at, and you got to kind of understand what you're looking for in order to pull up the information that you want to see. And so let's run it again. Like I said, I figured out what option I want to run, so I want to run who is. So Amass, and then intel, and then -who is, and then we have to specify a domain. So like I said, I wanted to use KeepItTechie.com, so let's run that against KeepItTechie.com and press enter. And I'll be back when it actually finishes. Sometimes it takes a little time because it's doing a whole bunch of queries, and it's using like DNS records and who is information that you can get offline. But you can just do this, you know, directly from the command line. And if you do all this stuff from the command line, you can run it through Tor, you can run it through a VPN, you know, all that stuff to protect yourself. All right, cool. So it's still running. As you can see, it didn't pull in a lot of results, but I know what's related to my domain. And the reason I'm saying I know some of the domains that I'm seeing, because you know, I own a couple domains that are kind of associated or tied to this domain, KeepItTechie.com, and I see one, maybe two in here. I don't want to point them out to you guys because I don't want you guys messing with them, but yeah, some of these domains in here. But as you can see, it's a lot of information, and so you can go through and check to see, you know, what's related. You can start doing enumeration on some of these domains that is bringing up under the results. But as you can see, it's a whole bunch. But let's go back to the bottom. I think we're close to finish, and yes, we are finished. All right, so let me show you guys another option that you can use, and that's IP. And this will allow you to get the IP of a domain. So let's type IP in here instead of who is, and let's press enter. And it looks like it didn't bring in anything for us. And what that's supposed to do is do a passive scan to see if it could discover the IP addresses associated with that IP address. And it looks like we didn't get anything. I know that's how you run the command. So since we couldn't get any information from under IP, let's just go on and hop to the enumeration. And let's run Amass again. -h, and that way we could pull up the main page again. But Amass enumeration, so we want to perform the enumeration and network mapping. And let's go on and look at use that same example domain, which is my domain, to run some enumerations. And just note that everything is not going to work, you know what I'm saying? This tool can be a little finicky, but that's one of the things when working as a cybersecurity professional or pen tester or whatever. You have to figure out what works best based on the situation that you're in, trying to figure out something or trying to find information about an organization or a domain name or whatever. You have to figure out what works. All right, so let's go down and run Amass and then enum, and let's press enter. That'll give us our options. As you can see, it's a whole bunch of options. It's a lot more options for enum, and this is where a lot of people store it. They actually don't even look at the Intel subcommand. They just go right into enumeration because they kind of know what they want to, you know, look for. And I just wanted to show it to you guys so you know that it's there. Now let's just run a basic command. So let's run Amass and then enum, and then let's run D, which is an option there as well. The same option as before. It's same thing as a value, domain name separated by commas. So all we got to do is type in our domain name, so KeepItTechie.com, and press enter, and let's see what it actually brings back. And just so you guys know, I haven't ran any of these commands beforehand. I'm just running it, and whatever results pop up, that's what I'll use in the video so you guys can see. So I'll be back when it finishes. Alright, so now we're getting some results. As you can see, it pulled up 3 domains. It says 3 names discovered, 2 searched, 1 archive. But hey, right here, let's say you didn't know about docs.keepitechie.com, which is linked down in the description of the video. That's my website where there's a description and a way to copy the commands and everything from my website for each of the tutorials that I do. But let's say you didn't know about docs.keepitechie.com. Well, now you know that that's one of the subdomains. And it also brings up the IP address, or at least the main IP address for it, and the ASN. So, and that's dealing with google.com. That's like, I run these sites in the cloud. I have a cloud server set up in Google where these websites are being served from. But this is dope. It says the enumeration has finished and then discoveries are being migrated into the local database. So there is a local database, and that's what I was talking about up here at the options. Let's go back up to Amass, but Amass DB, and that way you can manipulate the Amass graph database. So there is a database as well as track differences between enumerations. So these enumerations are tracked via the database now, so you can visualize that if you want to. So let's go back down to the bottom. That's a good way to gather information, but I also want to show you guys the other option in there, and that's just mainly for informational purposes. But this enumeration right here with no options, it runs it using the active and passive techniques. Well, I want to show you guys, let's say you only want to do this using passive techniques, where you can run the same command, but you can add another option in there, and it's called passive, and this will run that same command, get the same information, but using a passive technique. And so I'll be back when this finishes. Like I said, sometimes this takes a while because it's running it again. You know what I'm saying? It's not using local information that I already gathered in that database. It's running it again via the web. All right, cool. So it pulled in some more information that we didn't see in the first one. As you can see, it pulled up another subdomain. So sometimes it's beneficial to run it, you know, both ways to see what actually comes up. And then up here, it basically said 3 names discovered, 2 searched, 1 archive. I'm not sure if that 1 archive is this shop.keepitechie.com, but I did have a shop.keepitechie.com. I'm not even sure if that site is still up. I think it was a WordPress site, but I started getting rid of all of WordPress because it got hacked one time, and I don't like being vulnerable to certain stuff, and WordPress is very vulnerable unless you keep up with it, you know, a whole lot. And so I removed WordPress And I thought I removed this subdomain, but maybe it's still there. I'm gonna have to, after this, I'm gonna have to go back and and remove this subdomain, because I don't want it sitting there as a valid domain. Now there is some more options. You can use the enumeration along with a way of guessing subdomains that are associated with the domain name that you're looking for, and you can use a word list. And so let me show you guys how to do that right fast. So let's actually run Amass enum, and let's remove the passive. And what we want to do is do active, and then let's also do brute force, and you can throw that in there. That's an option. So you can brute force this domain, and then we can also specify a word list, and the option for that is -w, and then we could type the location of that word list. And I'm not gonna let this run too long because it'll take forever. It's gonna go through. I'll use the RockU word list, which is included in all Kali Linux distros. You can use that RockU not distribution, but word list. And actually, let's open up another terminal, and let's make this one smaller so you guys can see. And so let me install that package right fast. So sudo apt install word list, and press enter, and that should install all our word lists on the system. And they may take a little while because a lot of those word lists are pretty big, but they'll put them in that location for us. And I thought Kali Purple would come with it, but I guess not. So let's run word list -h, press enter. And as you can see, we have a couple word lists in here. So we got Amass, so let's use that Amass. So let's back that off, type Amass, and then I press tab so we can see. But hey, they got a subdomains list, so let's go down and run that subdomains list against it. So and let's press enter and run it now. So that's basically how you run it using a word list. And I don't expect this word list to bring up anything new because I know what the subdomains are of this domain, and I only have one, maybe two subdomains, with that shop.KeepItTechie. I need to go in and check it, but let's let it finish. All right, and so I sat here for a couple minutes, but I'm gonna decide to cancel it. But as you can see, it's going through that list. I'm not gonna let it keep going, but it's going through that same list. It's using that word list to search for subdomains, and since we know it ain't much more than that, then I won't keep running it against that list. And I know it was searching because it would have errored out if it didn't search that list. So I guess you can run it against a LST. I didn't know. I've never seen word lists in a LST format or list format. I've always seen them in text. Well, at least the last couple of times I played around with Kali, it was just a RockU list and all that. Now let me show you guys another option, and this allows you to get additional data sources while running the enumeration, and that's using the -src option on the end of it. So source, essentially. And I won't let this 100% run, but I just kind of wanted to at least show it to you guys so you guys can see. But I'm gonna back off this this word list. And then also, we don't need to have brute in there. I just wanted to show you guys that just to give you an example, but we could drop at the back, instead of -y or w, we could do source, so src. And this will try to identify subdomains using other data sources, like I think virus total is one, or Shodan, that's another one. It'll use that data source as well to try to find other subdomains for that domain. So let's go and press enter, and I'll wait to at least bring up one of those or those first three results, and then I'll cancel it and move on. And watch this, let me show you where it's getting from. So search spotter is where it got docs.keepitechie.com. so these are these sources. DuckDuckGo, it got the www.keepitechie.com. DNS, it got the keepitechie.com. And so let's go on and cancel. I just kind of wanted to show you guys, what it'll actually do. It'll use other sources to try to find subdomains for you, and then it also displays those sources, so that's super cool to actually see. Alright, so these are just a few examples of the many ways to use the Amass command in Kali Linux for reconnaissance and information gathering. Like I said earlier, it's a very versatile tool that can be customized to fit a variety of use cases. And hopefully you've gained a better understanding of enumeration, its importance in cybersecurity, and how Amass can be used to perform this critical task. Now, Amass is a powerful and flexible tool that can help you discover like subdomains, IP addresses, and other information about a target, system, or a network. But remember, enumeration is just one step in the overall cybersecurity testing process, but is a crucial one. By gathering as much information as possible about a target, you can identify potential vulnerabilities and reduce the risk of a successful cyber attack. So thanks for watching. Go on and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, leave comments down in the comments below. And of course, keep it techie.